Yes. I walked into the gallery and Tobin was yelling at my husband. There was a wooden chair broken between them.
What did James Tobin say to your husband?
He was yelling, "If you go public with this insurance fraud, it'll be the end of the gallery." Zach responded, "The gallery will survive." And Tobin moved forward and pointed his finger in his face and yelled, "The gallery may survive, but you won't."
And then?
I stepped between them. I wanted to get Zach out of there. Of course he was.
How much would he have received?
I'm not sure, but I am appalled that you're once again accusing my husband. I don't know anything more about the art theft. No, it had been turned off.
At whose direction?
James Tobin's.
Did the defendant give you a reason?
Yes. He said it had been going off sporadically without warning. He said we should turn it off until we could get it fixed.
Was it ever checked out?
Oh, yes. Immediately after the theft, I called. The repairwoman said she had worked on it and couldn't get it to malfunction once. I still have her paperwork.
Objection. Speculative and conclusory.
Question withdrawn. Ms. Barnes, did you and your husband ever discuss the argument you just described?
Yes, that evening when we returned home.
What, if anything, did your husband say about the theft of the paintings?
He said that Tobin himself had arranged for the paintings to be stolen so he could collect on the insurance.
Did your husband say he was going to the authorities with this information?
Yes.
Did he ever tell you if he made his intentions clear to the defendant?
Yes. He said that's what started the argument. Yes.
What was the amount of money he was due to receive?
I'm not sure, but I resent this line of questioning.
Ms. Barnes, please.
All that's left is his good name. Now you want to ruin that?
I'll withdraw the question.
I'm not sure, about $200,000.
When your late husband threatened to expose the fraud, did he tell you how Tobin responded?
Yes, Tobin accused Zach of trying to destroy his career.
Ms. Barnes, do you feel that in order to protect his career, Tobin would kill his
Objection!
Yes, I do. He would.
Objection sustained. Mr. Granger, do not make a fool of me.
Yes? Why?
In fact, Ms. Barnes, couldn't your husband have been involved in the theft?
Objection calls for a... On second thought, objection withdrawn.
No. The answer is no, and I have proof.
Proof?
Just before the fight, I heard a message on the answering machine. I kept the tape.
Objection. It's ridiculous.
Your Honor, this is just as much a surprise to me as...
The witness will surrender the tape and the court will recess to consider admissibility.
If word gets around, it won't be just me in trouble. We'll both lose frickin' everything. You just take your share of the money and shut up.
I can't do that.
Zach, don't you get self-righteous with me. Word of this will not get out, because if it does, then you will...
Yes. There was a holdup at Cafe Java right next to the gallery, and I felt Zach needed some temporary protection, so I borrowed a gun. To be honest, Zach was very much against the idea.
When did you bring the gun to the gallery?
It was March 7th. I remember because I had a meeting at City Hall later that night.
Did you ever mention this gun to the defendant?
Oh, yes. Tobin was right there when I brought it in after dinner. He thought it was a good idea, and he convinced Zach to keep it in his drawer at the bottom of his desk. I feel so badly now. If I'd known Tobin would use it to kill Zach.
Objection.
Sustained.
No.
Did you and your husband ever discuss obtaining a gun for protection?
No. We were both opposed to firearms on general principle. Yes, the one that killed my husband.
Was this your gun?
No, I borrowed it from my husband's cousin, Daryl. A Vietnamese woman across the way was attacked, and I felt I needed it for protection.
Did you discuss this with your husband?
Yes, he became quite upset and insisted that we take it down to the gallery for safekeeping.
Did he tell you where he put it?
Yes, in his office desk in a drawer. I was terrified by the amount of crime in this city. I got frightened and acted irrationally. Believe me, I regret it now. But hindsight is 20/20. Counselor, do not patronize me. Yes, I do.
Do you understand that the defendant in this case admits he killed Mr. Barnes?
Yes,
but
I do.
What's at stake here likely revolves around who brought the weapon to the murder site?
I understand.
The defense objects. How is this possibly relevant?
Your Honor, it reflects on the witness's understanding of the significance of the line of questioning and therefore her motive to tell the truth.
All right, objection overruled.
I read from page 15 of the transcript wherein the defendant says, quote, Zach had a scheme going with the art insurance. He was trying to get me to go along, but I wouldn't. So he was afraid he'd lose his little gallery and have to rely 100% on his wife's career. Ultimately, he was a real loser. I'm telling you, Zach brought the gun. Zach tried to kill me in cold blood. Unquote.
I brought it.
And why did you bring it?
I brought it to threaten my husband.
Your husband?
Yes. I found out he'd been sleeping with Ruby. He'd written her a letter on the computer, and I came across it accidentally.
Did you speak to him about it?
Not at first. Zachary's cousin, Daryl, the police officer, he and his family were in Hawaii on vacation, and we'd been watching the place for them. So I went over there to be alone.
What did you do there?
I called Zach. He denied everything. He'd never lied to me before. So I got a gun. I got the gun that Daryl kept in the cedar box under his bed. I don't know what I plan to do with it. Shoot myself, shoot Zach, whatever. When I got home, Zach was staring down into his lunch. I remember a bowl of tomato soup and a cheese sandwich. We looked at each other for a long moment. And then we both burst into tears. We talked for hours. I don't know if I'd ever felt closer to him. Then I remembered the gun and told him about it.
What was his reaction?
He couldn't believe it. He laughed and said he was going to tell the mayor on me. He said, I didn't realize you were Sister 45. Zach didn't want a gun in the house. So he suggested that we take it down to the gallery until I could get it back to Daryl. He really did hate guns. Only once.
When was that?
On the day my husband was murdered. It was lying by his side. Yes.
And the two of you returned early because the meeting was canceled?
Postponed, correct.
And Miss Garcia dropped you off and went to park the car?
Yes, I was about a block away in the alley behind the gallery.
Please describe for the jury what you saw at that point.
I saw James Tobin outside the back door of the gallery jimmying it with a crowbar. He saw me coming, so he went back in.
Objection, speculation.
Sustained.
Could you see what he was wearing?
Yes, he was wearing a black T-shirt with the gallery logo on back. What discrepancy?
You've said the defendant was wearing a black T-shirt, but the crime scene photos show him in a dress shirt.
I know what I saw.
Okay.
I'm out of patience, Mr. Granger. Limit your questions to what the witness saw. The jury will draw the conclusions. Conclusions.
I heard a shot from inside as I came to the door, so I unlocked it and went inside.
What did you see there?
My husband's body lying crumpled on the ground. Tobin lying nearby holding his leg and moaning.
And what was the physical state of the gallery?
The tabletop had been broken. There were shards of glass everywhere. Some of them lying in the pool of my husband's blood. And I remember a cash box lying upside down on the floor.
What did you do?
I tried to help my husband, then called 911. Faking a break-in. Clearly, he was trying to make it look as though...
Objection. Speculative.
Sustained.
You told me that the defendant had a plan to fake a break-in. How do you come to that conclusion?
Come on, Granger. Objection.
Mr. Granger, perhaps you should pursue a different line of questioning or work.
Yes, Tobin must have put it there to make it look like there was...
Objection. This is ridiculous.
Once again, I must admonish the witness to limit her testimony to things actually observed.
Yes. As soon as I opened the door and saw Zach, Tobin started explaining about the fight he and Zach had had, about how the table got broken and how he got shot.
Did he explain why the cash box was on the floor?
No, he couldn't explain that. It didn't fit in with his new fight story. It was left over from his attempt to fake the break-in. Oh, absolutely. It was one of the most successful small galleries on the West Coast.
Had it been profitable recently?
No.
Why?
James Tobin, completely against everyone's advice, changed his style of painting. His last show didn't sell well, and that created a cash flow problem for Zachary.
Wasn't this crisis so serious that your late husband feared losing the business?
I suppose.
Miss Barnes, earlier you testified that James Tobin was present when you delivered the gun to your husband at the Barnes Gallery. This was on the evening of March 7th?
Yes?
Miss Barnes, would it surprise you to learn that on the evening of March 7th, from 5 p.m. until well after midnight, the defendant was at a barbecue at the beach house of a Jerry Mullen, and his presence was witnessed by at least a dozen people?
Maybe I have the day wrong.
Miss Barnes, isn't it true that you met, before coming to court, you met with the police and the prosecutor?
Of course.
Isn't it also true that the prosecution told you that they had a big problem because they couldn't tie the murder weapon to James Tobin?
That piece of filth killed my husband, and he's not going to get away with it.
Miss Barnes, do you recognize this quote from the Chronicle on July 9th, 1991? As a member of the mayor's task force on handguns, I am committed to the elimination of these weapons in San Francisco. People have to understand that a household with a handgun is more dangerous than one without.
Yes, I said that.
You told Inspector Looper that you had never seen the gun before. And now, under oath, you're saying that you yourself borrowed the gun from your cousin. Which story is true?
The story I told today.
Is that so?
Objection.
Question withdrawn. Miss Barnes, did you see your husband take the gun into the gallery?
I saw him leave our loft with it, yes.
But did you see him actually go into the gallery with it?
I didn't follow him across the street, if that's what you mean.
Miss Barnes, are you aware that the gun used to kill your husband was registered to his cousin, Darrell Barnes?
Yes?
Did James Tobin have access to Darrell's house?
Not that I know of.
Did Zach?
Yes, but that doesn't mean
Thank you, that's all that I asked. Miss Barnes, wasn't this notion that James Tobin somehow stole his own paintings first suggested to you by your husband?
Zach and I discussed it, yes.
Insurance records show that he would have received $200,000. Was he involved in stealing the paintings?
No.
Well, if he wasn't involved, then how did he know James Tobin was?
I'm sure Zachary had nothing to do with it.
That is opinion. This is fact. Ms. Barnes, you have as much real evidence that my client stole the paintings as you have that Zachary Barnes stole them.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Miss Barnes, you now say that James Tobin had a crowbar outside the gallery. Yet in your statement to Inspector Looper, you said he was carrying a stick. Do you know the difference?
The day of the murder, I was shaken up. It was only later that I was able to remember more clearly.
You also claim that James Tobin was wearing a black T-shirt on the morning of the alleged crime, correct?
Yes?
May I present People's Evidence number 5? This is the shirt he was wearing that morning. Perhaps you would like to reconsider your statement that you saw him outside the gallery at all.
No, I wouldn't.
Perhaps you would like to reconsider all of your testimony.
Objection. We don't have to put up with this badgering.
Do you recognize this shirt?
Yes, it's Tobin's. He wore it the morning of the crime.
Alleged crime, Miss Barnes.
Call it what you will.
Ladies, please.
You will notice it's yellow, or more accurately, ochre. Yet you say he had on a black T-shirt.
He put on the black shirt after he killed Zach. He certainly couldn't wear the bloody one outside, so he took it off and used it to hide the gun on his way to dump both of them. When
Ms.
I saw him
Barnes.
outside the door, he went back into the gallery and changed into that shirt again.
Preposterous. When was there time for him to change shirts? You followed him right into the gallery.
As a matter of fact, there was plenty of time. I had to walk about a block, then I had to open the door, which I found out Tobin had double locked. By the time I looked in the bottom of my bag
Ms.
to find
Barnes,
the
thank you.
second
You've
key-
answered the question. Now I have another. When you went into the gallery, you saw evidence of a fight, correct?
No, there was no fight. Tobin killed Zach and afterward made it look as though there'd
Please,
been a
Miss
fight.
Barnes, just answer the questions. This story of yours about Tobin playing dress-up and faking both a struggle and a break-in is entertaining, but you don't have any evidence to support it, do you?
No, just what I saw.
Granger, you gotta put me up there.
Remember last time Charleston cross-examined you? You broke into tears.
Oh, bull doo-doo.
What?
Yes, you made that up.